I'm not a magazine, but I have an issue. Okay, with the real, yeah. So let's talk about this. This title was not clickbait. The first issue that I have with the real recently is that every topic becomes about race. That is not some unprecedented idea. I'm going to show you guys through some clips that we have today what exactly I'm talking about. We're going to discuss those things in those clips. And they actually responded to this critique that another user on Twitter made. And I'm going to be responding to that as well. And then I'm going to tell what I feel is the biggest issue, which is something I feel like nobody has really talked about or touched on. But I feel like that the issue that I'm going to bring up towards the end of the video is the root of is this show's Achilles heel, so to speak. And I feel like with this show could go from being what was once a good show to a great show with a lot of light and insight. But right now it's just doing the opposite of that, and it's declining, and it is isolating, and it is ostracizing groups of people and cutting down their viewership. And yeah, we'll talk more about it later. So the first clip is gonna be this Jillian Michaels and Lizzo thing. Full disclaimer, I'm not playing full clips. That's not the goal. If you want to see the full videos, then I will link them in the description. Also, the focus of these clips is for me to talk about how they shift things to be about race that are not about it. They are going to mention some other things that I have strong opinions for or against, and I will try to leave those comments out of this video and focus on the task at hand. Lastly, if you see me looking down, it's because I took notes, because I will rant, and this is not the intent of this video. So Jillian Michaels, Lizzo situation, basically in a very, very short summation of what happened. Jillian Michaels, who is white, which is important for me to say because it's 2020 and I guess that matters, and it also matters for the context of the video, said that she was being interviewed, and Lizzo was brought up in the interview. She is a black female entertainer. She sings, raps, to my knowledge. I don't really listen to music like that, but then Jillian Michaels, while she's being interviewed, the interviewer said something about celebrating Lizzo and celebrating her weight, or celebrating her, being a larger girl or something to that nature. And Jillian Michaels said, well, no, we can celebrate her music, but I'm not going to celebrate her being overweight because it's not going to be awesome if she gets diabetes. So the Real initially made a video commenting on this, and then when Jillian Michaels came out and not apologized, but when she came out and clarified her statement, this was their response to the clarification of that statement.
Right? While Jillian didn't apologize, she did say that she regrets. Hold on. Let me get the facts out. Let me get the facts out. While Jillian didn't apologize, she did say that she regrets the debate because it became about Lizzo instead of the bigger issue, because she is a big fan of Lizzo. So, ladies, does this change about how we feel about what Jillian said?
No. She still said it. And it was the way she said it. She didn't take away. She didn't apologize.
Yeah, and no, I don't think she should have apologized. I think if you said something and you meant it, then stand by what you said. I think people in Hollywood, people in the limelight now have a very bad habit of apologizing for things they meant. I think fake apologies are worse than not getting an apology at all.
And by the way, she has a black daughter. Okay, so my thing is, there's something about this woman that made her feel like she could disrespect Lizzo like this. That's really my issue. Yeah. And if we're really being honest, I really feel like it's because she considers Lizzo to be overweight, and because Lizzo is a black woman, that she felt like she could just say whatever,
say anything,
and not have to have any respect, and she could speak with such loose candor. But the truth of the matter is that she had no place to say how she said it.
Also, in the
okay, so she has a black daughter. What did that have to do with anything? You see what I mean? Like, that conversation had nothing to do with Jillian having a black daughter. Not a single thing. And there was not even a follow-up point made that was relating to the fact that she had a black daughter. It was just a throwaway comment that had nothing to do with the conversation. And then the biggest issue is being, and she felt like, that because Jillian's a white woman, that she could speak on Lizzo because she's an overweight black woman, and she felt like she could speak on her with such candor, as Amanda says. No. Like, where are you getting this stuff from? Like, when you choose to see the world through that perspective, you always will. Like, if you go to a job interview, if I go to a job interview as a black female and there's a white man interviewing me and I don't get the job, there are two kinds of people in the world in regards to this type of thing. There's the kind of person who is like me. I'm going to say, okay, well, maybe there were better qualified candidates. Maybe there were people who were more fit for the job. Maybe I didn't do a good job in my interview. Maybe I didn't do enough research on the company. Maybe I did not dress professionally. Maybe I came 30 minutes late. There are so many possibilities for why I did not get that job. And then there are people who look at through life and through the world through the lens of race first, and who get the whole, oh, well, yeah, they didn't hire me because that man was white and he was racist. That's such an easy route because it reflects none on you. You get no accountability. You have no responsibility for if you were 30 minutes late. You have no responsibility for if you were not the best candidate or if you did not interview well. There is no self-improving or self-awareness. There's no accountability of, I had something to do with this. And that's what victimhood does. If you give someone the power over you to say that they are the root of the problem in your life, then you also take away your ability to be the solution. If you're not the problem, you can't be the solution. So deflecting and making everything about race takes away the accountability from both parties in this situation. And then she says Jillian had no right or something to that effect to speak on it, and I just want to, or had no place, she said, and I just want you to hold on to that because I'm gonna bring that up later. So remember, Jillian had no place to speak on Lizzo as an African American overweight woman because somehow that matters. Clip number 2. Situation is Kevin Hart in his documentary was talking about him and his affair, him committing adultery, him cheating on his wife, and Joe Budden was weighing in, and he said, oh, well, I can understand because, I mean, he works hard and sometimes you're only home for like 10 seconds. And there was a lot before this, and this is a 2-part clip, well, not for me, but for the show when they put it on YouTube. But again, we're focusing on how this conversation, you'll see, just watch.
Black community, I don't speak for the black community, but I do think that a lot of black men, they really don't know how to have true, faithful relationships. They think because they have money, because they have power, that they can treat women any kind of way.
Loni love is saying things.
And that is something we need to work on. We need to work on that. That money and power does not mean that you can just do whatever you want to do.
I think sadly in so many cultures, that is the whole machismo thing. Like that goes across the board. But I'm going to say...
No, it's not across the board because what is...
I'm going to stop right there. Did you see that? Y'all saw that, right? Adrian says, no, it's across the board. And Loni says, no, no, it's not across the board. She is specifically giving this to the black community to own, giving this to black men to own. You as black men have problems with cheating. And the reason why is even better. But specifically focusing on that, Adrian tries to get her point. No, it's the whole machismo thing. It's across the board. All races cheat, which I feel like is not a wild thing to say. But Loni said, no, this is specifically focusing on the black community because that's what everything focuses on. And so let's hear why. Let's hear why black men cheat.
Happening is that we are still dealing with the point of slavery, and we are descendants of slavery. And because our families were broken up, we still do not have an idea of how to have together families because our families were broken up.
Yes,
and until we really
from that perspective, I absolutely
And not just slavery, welfare reform in the 60s and 70s. This is a long...
Okay. I have so many opinions regarding this just little, I don't even know, last 30 seconds that we saw. But again, I'm going to try to keep this focused. So black men cheat because slavery. Okay. Just we all heard that. Like I said, I'm going to try to stay on topic. I'm going to try to focus on the point of, do you see how this conversation turned into something about race when the conversation in itself inherently had nothing to do with race? It had nothing to do with he was black. The conversation was about cheating. It was about cheating, and it was about adultery, and it was about commitment. And now it turned into how this is somehow an issue that is just only the black community is facing. Like, men of every race don't cheat because men who want to cheat will cheat. That's as simple as it is. But this had to be taken into that. And this is the part I'm saying things that I just really want to comment on, that I'm going to comment a little bit on it. And then Amanda, talking about welfare reform and all this stuff like that, which is interesting to me because, the black marriage rate was higher after the Civil War era. Some studies even show was higher than the white marriage rate. And now we have the marriage rate or the two-parent home rate in shambles in the black community. And I agree with her in that's largely directly correlated with welfare and government assistance, which I find ironic with her being so liberal politically, because liberals are the ones who push these social welfare systems that she is just admitting that are detrimental to the black family, specifically when the government comes through and incentivizes single motherhood. But I digress. Not the point of the video. Maybe in another video, but I did have to give my little 2 cents on why I thought that was so contradicting and interesting.
Ooh. So when you hear to where he came from, because then he'll lose the power.
And then working so hard is affecting his relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is a
conundrum.
Correct.
Well, but I also want to say, I don't know what race.
You have to learn that balance, though.
Okay. So the reason why I let that rest of the clip play is because I wanted not to even get into that whole whatever line we're talking about him not wanting to be poor again. I don't know what that has to do with cheating on your wife. But I mean the last part when Jeannie says, I don't know what race, and then she's cut off. Because I 100% believe that Jeannie was about to address that the issue was turned into a black man issue and not a issue with cheating and faithfulness across the board. And I believe she was probably going to say something to the effect of, like, I don't know what race, does not have people that cheat in it. Maybe she would have said it a little more eloquently than that, but I feel like that's the effect of what she was going to say, but she was cut off. But I did think that was necessary to point out, again, for something that, for the big melting pot that I'm going to present to you at the end of the video. This last clip is by far the most cringy. And geez, it's just painful to watch. It's this Shan Boodram situation. They didn't even post the clip on YouTube that I could find from the Real channel itself. So I had to get this clip from someone who posted a video of their TV recording it. But I felt like the situation was worth speaking on because, geez, this is a dumpster fire.
Instagram. And you guys, she is really willing to go the extra mile to get people to be able to find love and to start dating. So you guys, she will even go as far as to like secretly watch you while you're on your date. Oh, she'll have cue cards to tell you what to say. She might even give you a makeover before you go on this date so you look your cutest. Yeah, so that she highlights their best attributes. So
white people. I tell you, white
she's
people.
Not white. She's not white. She's not white. She's mixed. She's mixed. She's half white. That's white. Mixed and plus white. No.
That's white.
Hold on. Before we do this, wait. Stop. This is a friend of mine. She's mad cool. She's actually on my podcast.
I didn't say that she was a bad person.
She's not white.
Let me check you right there.
No,
I didn't say she was a bad person.
She's not white.
I said that
you just said that she was white.
She ain't all the way black, is she?
Since when did the percentage make you?
She's biracial. Which means she's part white, and I believe that's part of her whiteness coming out because black people ain't going on no dang Thomas up. Here, hold this.
She has a really big following. That's actually how I found her on Instagram.
You guys, that's great. Ain't nobody saying that. What I'm saying is, this girl right here is biracial.
Yeah.
Okay? She's part black and she's part white. Okay? There are some aspects that I know are her white aspects. There are some aspects that are her black aspects. And I have a right to say, I feel like this person is the white aspect is coming out when you taking them on a
Instagram user,
All right. That was phenomenal. I say so about to break my desk. So sarcastically. Oh wow, that was terrible. And I was laughing. I laugh every time I watch that clip. And it's not because I'm not laughing the same reason the audience is. I'm not laughing because I genuinely think that it's funny. I don't. I'm laughing because wow, that was terrible. Because I'm just imagining, can you imagine the outrage if that were a panel of white women commenting on a biracial woman who was a person of color? Well, I guess obviously the one who they were speaking of was, but I mean, could you imagine if a white person would have said the exact same thing? Just the utter uproar and outrage. And yes, Loni did catch flack for this. Yes, she did. And I'm not denying that at all. But me and you, come on, look me in the eye. We know. You have to be able to acknowledge that if Loni was a white and said the exact same thing, that she would have been canceled. She would have been canceled. She said she ain't all the way black. As if, what does that even mean? What is the point that you're trying to make here? And she digs her heels in and continues on, and she says there are some aspects that, you know, Tamera has that are her white aspects and some that are her black aspects. What? You can't do that. You can't on one hand say that you are, you know, condemning stereotyping and prejudice and all this stuff, and then on the other hand literally attribute certain characteristics to people because of characteristics that they can't, or because of features that they can't control. You can't say that a person is going to be this way because they are black, or a person is going to be this way because they are white, unless you are subscribing to prejudice and stereotypes. You can't do that. You can't ask, hey, don't put me in a box because I am black, and then go put someone else in a box because of their race, or saying that someone is doing something because of part of their ethnicity. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And she says, I have a right to say I feel like this person, the white aspects are coming out when they do X. So let me get this straight. You have a right, is what you just said. What she just said, I have a right to be able to speak on other people's race, other people's characteristics because of their race. Yet earlier, remember that in the whole Jillian Michaels conversation, Amanda said that Jillian had no right, no place to be able to speak on that. So black people, so we can speak on white people and on people of other races, but people of other races cannot speak on us. Do we see how this all is not adding up, and how if you stop to think about it for just 5 seconds, it makes absolutely no sense? And so they responded to the same critique that I am bringing forward right now, which is that all these topics that have nothing to do with race are being made about race. And here's that clip, and here's how they responded to it. And boy, oh boy.
Funaki, and it reads, can we get at comic Loni Love and Amanda Seals?
Okay, and I'm going to stop throughout this clip because I have a lot to say, and I don't want to be trying to bring stuff back up. So let's stop right here. They said at Amanda and Loni. I completely agree with this, simply because they are the new duo. Ever since Amanda got made a co-host, her and Loni have been tag teaming it out. All they do is co-sign with each other. And you've seen it on these clips before. They co-sign with each other, and they work effortlessly, or work tirelessly, shall I say, to bulldoze and shut down every opposing opinion. And it's ironic because they're going to say something that contradicts that in just a second.
To shut up about making everything about race.
Wow.
Not everyone is out to get a sister, rolling eyes emoji.
And like I said, I don't completely agree with the delivery of this person's comment, but the substance of what they're saying, I do agree with. And even like I said, I'll comment on that before, making everything about race. If you choose to see the world through that lens, then you can easily make every situation about race. If you're walking around in a store and you have the idea that people are looking at you because you're black, then anyone who looks at you, you're going to assume was looking at you because you're black. Not because you're beautiful, not because you have something weird on your face, not because, you know, they think that you're an interesting looking person, or because they're a weirdo who just likes to stare at people. And even thinking about it is such a selfish way to go through the world, thinking that everybody is thinking about you, is thinking about your race. People don't care as much as I think that people want them to. Okay, like, and that's just the fact of it. And so if you want to make everything about race, then you will.
It's so frustrating watching every topic be made into an overweight issue or race.
Wow.
We get.
And I'm not going to comment on the overweight part, just simply because that's not what I'm focusing on in this video. But the wording, she says, is very important, because she says watching every topic be made into. And then earlier she said making everything about race. The critique is, and they're going to miss it, and you'll see that they miss what she's saying. She's not saying that she is upset that they talk about race. She's not saying that she does not like that they bring up a lot of issues that discuss race. She's saying the issue is when you make topics that have nothing to do with race about race, like you've seen them do in these last 3 clips. And there are more examples of this as well, but I don't have time for this. So I don't have time to put all those clips in one video, but I just feel like I would point out some major ones, and that's the critique, and they're not going to respond to that critique, which is unfortunate, because I even think the fact that the producers are allowing this comment to be shown shows a few few things that either the producers potentially feel the same and they're being a little shady and throwing that in there to try to say hello, like this is what people are thinking, or two, that they want them to be aware that these are comments that people are getting. And under all of the videos that I mentioned, you will see comments of people, unfortunately, who even start their top comment saying, before I even say what I'm about to say, I'm black, which is unfortunate, because to think that you have to be of that race in order to contribute to a conversation, in order to have a valid opinion, is wrong. And I think that's it's lazy. It's really lazy to attack someone's race, to attack someone's gender, rather than actually focus on their argument. Because if I say something as a black woman and it's true, and a white man says something is the exact same thing I said, rather, people will attack that man and say that he cannot say that because he is white, or that he cannot say that because he is a man, so somehow his opinion is unsubstantiated. And even if it's true, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's simply stating literal facts. He cannot be the one to be the bearer of those facts or those truths because of his sex or because of his race. And that's the exact opposite of what we say, or what they say that they're trying to fight. You cannot fight racism with racism. You cannot fight sexism with sexism.
You're black and proud. Good for you, but not everyone is out to get you to stop making everything about race. Shaking my head emoji. Reading that for the first time.
That was just so hard and unnecessary. That was really hard and unnecessary to even read that comment. I don't.
And that right there is why she didn't hear anything that was said, because you're over there playing your violin, and your violin is so loud. Your ego is so large, and she throws that African American studies degree around like it's a flag at a 4th of July event. Like, and it's so loud that you cannot hear any actual critique that is being made, and not to mention actually take it in and absorb it and consider, is this true? And
like it.
I don't like it
because this show is based on women of color.
Yes.
If you can't take 2 minutes of us talking about race, something's wrong with you then. And you know what?
And again, that's what I'm saying. They're not responding to the critique. It's not about race. It's not about you talking about race. It's about you making issues that have nothing to do with race about race. And you are saying, oh, well, we're talking about women of color. This is a show that champions people of color, yada, 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 yada. Well, and you saw even what was the only race that was brought up? Black people. And you may say, oh, well, it's because Loni and Amanda are black women and they can only speak from their own perspectives and their own prejudice and racist experience that they have experienced, and blah, blah, blah. And if, people want other minority voices to be heard, then, you have Jeannie on there, you have Adrian on there, who can speak for the Latina and the Asian community. And if they choose not to speak up for the discrimination that their groups, or that their people groups face, then, that's on them. But I disagree. I think if the whole idea is that you're holding a torch for all women of color, then why not bring up issues facing those communities as well, as opposed to pivoting every conversation into the black community and into black people. And even like I'm saying with the cheating conversation, when Adrian tried to share the problem, and that it's not just an issue facing black people, that it's an issue facing all people with cheating and adultery, and Loni shut it down. So don't give me the whole, this is a whole thing for all women of color, because it's not, because you are holding the torch specifically for black women. And I get that if you're saying it's not your job to hold the torch for any other groups of women of color, but that's not what you're saying. And so if you're saying that your job is to speak on it for everyone, and to stand up for all women of color who are being, prejudiced against, or who are being oppressed, or whatever it is that you are saying, then do that. But don't stand on the hill of like, oh, this is for all women of color, blah, blah, because it's not. It's just it's simply not.
We all talk about race. Yes. I'm sorry, you were supposed to answer. Go ahead.
Well, it was you know what? And I will don't diss my sis, or this sis, or the sisters that we speak on behalf of, because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is race is a really big part of this country's issue, this world's issues. And if we're not speaking about it, then it gets pretended like it doesn't exist. And it ends up being something that is just existing in silence, even though it needs to be addressed with volume in order for it to go away.
Yes. Okay. All right, I'm sorry, I paused it because I'm waiting for her to finish, because I've seen this clip, obviously, and this is one of the parts that really fires me up more than anything else. She says it needs to be addressed with volume in order for it to go away. talking about racism does not make it go away. I know, shocking. Talking about racism, yelling about racism, increasing your volume, increasing the frequency in which we have these conversations does not make it go away. And I can slightly see the argument if you're talking in the realm of microaggressions and people being racist who don't know that they're being racist, or the intrinsic racistness in which children are raised with, which a lot of people stand on that hill of. If that's the route that you're going and you're saying, oh, if we let people know that thing that they're doing is racist, then it can help them prevent themselves from being racist. But true racists talking and telling them, hey, racism is bad, does not solve racism. It does not eradicate racism. And that comment is so almost condescending, to just think that, oh yeah, all we have to do is talk about it more for it to go away. And I said this on my previous video, and I'm going to say it again on this one, because this is the hill that I will die on. This is why, as much as I enjoy politics, I can never preach politics to the end of it, because even though those temporary policies, those policies that are put in place are good, and I do think that we should fight for those rights, and that we should fight for moral law and things of that nature. However, those are temporary fixes to eternal issues. Okay, the issue with racism is that it's a sin issue, is that the heart of man is sinful, is that we are people of a fallen nature, and that we are that we have desires and we have thoughts and things that are contrary to God. The issue with racism is that it's an imago Dei issue, which is the image of God. It's the lack of realizing the intrinsic value in human life, because we are all made in the image of God. It's a lack of realizing that skin different does not mean that any one race is less made in the image of God than another, or that one race is subservient to the other, which again, all of this goes back to not understanding biblical principles, not understanding the gospel, not understanding that we were all made in the image of God. And once that can be understood, once a person becomes a new creation and is given a new heart, then they're also given a renewed mind. That is how racism is eradicated, not by just talking about it more.
The truth of the matter is that it may frustrate you. It may frustrate you because it's an inconvenient truth. But on the other hand, it makes so many of our other listeners feel seen, for us to speak about their experiences, for us to speak about what they are talking about with their friends in their own group chat. So really, I hope that this person...
And see, that's where my friends, we aren't talking about this in our group chat. When my friend tells me they didn't get a job, my response is not, well, was he white? Was the person who interviewed you white? And then if she says yes, my response is not, well, oh yeah, you probably didn't get the job because he's a racist. Those aren't conversations that I have with my friends. When me and my friends talk about marriage or adultery and cheating, we do not streamline the conversation to why it's black men that are the ones who have an issue with this, and why this isn't as prevalent of an issue in other races. You know, when we talk about things like that, we don't have these conversations. So it's not representing a group chat that I would have with anyone who I would choose to spend a lot of my time talking to. So
after getting their vent out, because they vented, get it out. I hope what you do in exchange now is consider the fact that, you know what? There's other people's perspectives that matter. And maybe I should consider listening.
And ironically, exactly the advice that she is prescribing is advice that she does not take herself. There's other people's opinions that matter. I totally agree with that. And maybe you should consider listening. I also agree with that. But that's not advice that Amanda takes herself. And one of the prime examples is in the Jussie Smollett conversation that they had about his charges being brought back up. And in that conversation, Amanda is bulldozing everyone. And even when they have these conversations at all, Loni and Amanda bulldoze everyone, and no one feels like they are in a safe enough space to be able to share their opinion without fear of being completely X'd out and shut down, which is why you hear, or you don't hear better yet, Tamera and Adrian speaking in a lot of these situations, which I'm going to comment on that in just a second. And so I think that it's ironic and it's unfortunate that she can see part of the issue, and that's again when you have no accountability, when you don't take your own advice and stop and listen and think, well, maybe I should consider someone else's perspective. Because when Amanda has her heels dug in on situations, especially concerning race, she does not show any want or any need to listen to anyone else's opinion on the matter.
Jenny was talking about earlier in the show.
Yes. Listening! Listen! And who needs to listen? And I have to say...
Okay. That's all for the clips, but this is gonna wrap up the big issue that I have, and that is that there is no perspective. She said you should listen to other people's perspectives, and The Real has created an environment in which these women can share how they feel with no pushback, which in fact the only pushback that they really get is from the comments and from the viewers who have other opinions. And I don't feel like there is any voice up there that is representing the conservative side of these issues. And I think that's a problem, because it kind of pushes forward the idea that all Black people think the same. And I think that that's not the case whatsoever, because you have Loni and Amanda up there representing Black women, and they think the same. But I don't feel represented on this show as a Black woman, if that's the angle that we're going to go at it as, that we're speaking out for people of color who don't have these topics and opinions voice. I would love to see someone on the show like Candace Owens, or there are just a bunch of people who I would love seeing on this show who have more conservative opinions, that would be able to shed light on issues from a different perspective. And that is the biggest issue with this show, that as they champion themselves as the crown jewel on the tiara of diversity, that they do not have or cherish diversity of thought. And that is an issue with the left just in general, is that they want diversity of skin tones all day, diversity of genders all day, but diversity of thought is shunned and shut down immediately. And when someone came at them with a critique with a different perspective, did they take it in? You didn't even address the actual critique. You did not even address what she was saying. Her issue was not that you talk about race or the show talks about race. Her issue was that situations that have nothing to do with race are made about race, and how that makes people feel, and your viewers particularly. And so with Tamera, and it hurts me because I do feel like she does have a more conservative viewpoint, the perspective of a Christian conservative woman, and she stays silent on so many of these topics. She stays silent on so many topics about race, so many topics about politics and policies, and the important topics where we need that other perspective. And I understand in some light, because coming out as a conservative in Hollywood is near assassination. I mean, even when I came out as a conservative in my own life, I had friends that literally sent me paragraphs about why we couldn't be friends anymore, and they would never associate themselves with someone who was a conservative. I had literally family call my parents and ask if I was okay and what was going on, and was it true, like I had just done something terrible, like they had just saw my mugshot come across the night news saying that I was in jail for 15 years. And it's unfortunate that she does not feel, for whatever reason, I don't know what her reasoning is, and I'm not going to pretend to know, but I do know that as she is taking that route, like if you look at the conversation they had with Dwayne Wade about his child, she chose to stay silent and not speak on that. When you look at the conversation about when Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at the Super Bowl, and she had come out on her Instagram previously saying that her and her niece used to sing the Star Spangled Banner together all the time, and so I know that she had an adverse opinion to what they were talking about, and that does matter to her, even if it didn't matter to them, and she chooses to not speak on them. And because of that, there is no diversity of thought on the show. And I think that if Tamera is not going to speak up, then the co-host that should have been assigned was someone from a different thought perspective, who could have provided a wider variety of conversation and could have actually challenged Loni, could have actually challenged if Amanda was still going to be on the show, and create some really good dialogue and some really good perspective to show that all people of color do not think the same, because we don't. I think Jeannie tries her best, and I don't think she allows him to shut her down, but even still, Jeannie's viewpoint is more on the left or liberal side. She definitely is left-leaning and is definitely liberal on a lot of different topics, and she does push back. But again, I think having an adverse opinion, someone from the other aisle of the political realm, would be much more helpful and would elevate this show. But I think as of now, with the tag team right there, Amanda and Loni, and bringing every situation to about race, specifically about Black people, I think it's very ostracizing, and I don't think it makes for a very productive conversation. And I wish that I hope that that's something that they might change. I don't imagine anyone who even is related to the show will ever watch this video, but on the outside chance that you do, thank you for getting all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I do commentary on things like this, culture, politics, religion, anything that I feel the need to put my 2 cents in on. If you enjoyed listening to my opinion, or you have anything in specific you would like me to cover, leave it in the comments down below, and I will see if I can do that for you. Also, comment your opinion. I'm sure there are plenty of people who disagree with me. I'm sure there are some people who agree with me. I'm sure there are people who have more questions and who would like more answers about things. All of those things, please leave in the comment. I would love to engage in conversation with you and hear, as Amanda said, other perspectives. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.